All right, folks, let's get started. This is Rob Booker, and today I've got a special guest back together with me. His name is Ross Givens, and Ross is an investor who uses a strategy unlike anything I've ever seen. After years of research, he recently went public with the results of a groundbreaking study, and what he discovered is hard to believe. Something I thought was impossible: a group of traders that never lose. I've spent the last few weeks reviewing his work, and I can assure you this is the real deal. Over the next hour, you're going to learn the secret that he uses to pick stocks, how he gets completely legal inside tips, and how he knows which companies are about to take off. Be sure to pay attention, because I can promise you, you won't see anything else like this. Ross, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Rob. It's great to be here, and I appreciate all of you being on this webinar as well. What I'm about to share with you will completely change the way you invest. It is without a doubt the best kept secret in the stock market. Now, it all started when I was researching a small group of traders who consistently beat the market and beat it in a big, big way. Now, they weren't professional traders at Goldman or Merrill or Credit Suisse. In fact, they weren't Wall Street guys at all. They're insiders, and they have an enormous advantage over everyone else in the market. Now, when I say insiders, I'm talking about CEOs, CFOs, executives, board members, folks that have access to inside non-public information about their businesses. Now, this gives them a huge edge. They buy low, they sell high, and they regularly book profits of 500 to 1,000%. In fact, many of these investors have perfect track records. They have made money every single time they traded their own company stock. They were always profitable. And in just a moment, you'll see how they do it.
All right, so tell everyone how you discovered this secret, because I call it a loophole because I feel like that's what it really is. But almost nobody knows about it, and I certainly didn't. So could you talk about a little bit about that real quick?
Sure. I mean, I've always been fascinated with the big legends of our investing industry. So the Buffett and Soros and Lynch and all these guys with mind-blowing, multi-decade track records. But most of them just aren't that impressive today. I mean, even Buffett, as you see here, he can't even beat the index anymore. So basically all the folks who used to make big returns no longer do. So what I decided to do is start researching the people who are beating the market today, not the ones who did well in the past. Now, I got together with a research team, and we analyzed more than 2.9 million trades going back to 2003. It was an exhaustive study. We took over a dedicated Bloomberg terminal. I think the data for that costs like $25,000 a year. We were using Google's cloud platform for data storage, proprietary machine learning engines for data accuracy. They even brought in a programming expert on DNA analysis to write more than 10,000 lines of code to mine this data. And here's what we found. The top performers were not hedge funds. They were not money managers. They were company insiders, so CFOs and marketing directors and board members, regular investors that no one has ever heard of. Now, following this group of traders could have handed you gains like 198% on iRobot, 421% on Cara Therapeutics, and a 608% gain on Ultra Clean Holdings stock. Now, this is just a few of the smaller gains you could have made. So after seeing this, I quickly realized that these were the people I needed to be watching.
Now, earlier you mentioned people following Warren Buffett and the big hedge fund guys to find stocks.
Right.
But there's a big lag time with that, isn't there?
That's right. Yeah, those trades are only released once a quarter. So, for example, if Buffett, he buys Apple in January, you don't find out about it until the middle of May.
Okay, so that's essentially useless and not really something that you can depend on for
Exactly.
trades. Brings up the question, though, do you have the same problem when you're following insiders?
No, and that's one of the huge advantages here. Insiders have to report their trades within 48 hours, and these records are immediately available to you and me and the rest of the investing public. So I can see exactly what stocks insiders are buying right now. There's almost no lag time. Now, this allows us as investors to get in early on the stocks poised to take off, and these stocks can make some really big moves. For example, Crown Castle International climbed 851% after insiders bought. Extra Space Storage ballooned 1,204%. And Viking Therapeutics went up an astounding 1,829% in the 2 years following a big insider buy, enough to turn a $10,000 position into $192,900, again, in less than 2 years.
Now, I'm looking at that Viking Therapeutics and I'm thinking, these are some really big numbers. And when I hear something like this, the first thing that happens is my BS filter and my alarm system goes off, and I'm tempted to run the other way. But I've known you for a while, so I'm just going to cut to the chase. How in the crap is this possible? And there's got to be a catch. So what's the catch?
Yeah, and well, here's what you have to remember, Rob. They're only trading one stock, their own company. I mean, think about it. These are the people who know that company inside and out. CEOs, CFOs, vice presidents, board members. They know their stock better than any analyst or any hedge fund on Wall Street. And they regularly buy these stocks before they go 5, 10, even 20 times higher. And you can buy the same stocks if you know where to look. And that's what we're talking about here. I'm going to show you who these people are, how you can follow their trades, and why this is hands down the easiest and most profitable way to trade stocks.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So I was hoping maybe you'd give us an example to show everyone how this works and what it looks like when an insider buys.
Sure. Let's take a look at IZEA Worldwide. Now, this is a marketing firm that connects companies with social media influencers to drive the sales of their products. Now, on July 2nd of last year, 3 insiders bought the stock, all on the same day. Directors Lindsay Garner and CEO Edward Murphy each picked up around 120,000 shares. Another director named Mr. Brady invested $500,000 of his personal money in IZEA stock. Now, 10 days later, this happened. The company announced the acquisition of a leading social media marketing platform. The stock skyrocketed, and Brady made an $800,000 profit in just 2 weeks. Now, Rob, think about this for a second. This guy had been on the board of directors since 2012. You know how much stock he bought over that 6-year period?
Not much, maybe?
$4,000. $4,000. That's all he owned. Then he loads the boat with a $500,000 buy 10 days before they announced the biggest acquisition in the company's history. I mean, do you really think this is a coincidence?
No, I mean, nobody, not even me, is that lucky. Okay, so I noticed something else on that chart because it looks like the stock was in a nosedive when he bought it. It was down like 50% or so in that month,
right?
If I got it right. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I know a lot of people that are uncomfortable buying a stock that's falling like that. They like to buy stocks that are going up, not down. So how do you deal with that? Doesn't that kind of freak you out?
Great question. And ordinarily, yeah, sure it would. If I weren't following insiders, there's no way I'm going to buy a stock that just fell 50% in the last 2 weeks. But that's one of the huge advantages of this type of trading. You know, information is the most valuable commodity on Wall Street. If you know the story before everyone else, you've got an enormous advantage in the market. And that's exactly what these insiders have. Rob, you're unique in the fact that you're probably the only person on this webinar who knows anything about the social media influencer affiliate business, all right? The rest of us have no clue. But guess who does?
Let me guess. That dude that bought a bunch of stock.
Yeah, our boy Brian. He sits on the board of directors. He plays golf with the CFO. The insider, he knew the deal was about to go through, so he puts a couple years' salary into stock and waits for the announcement to go public. He got in cheap and nearly tripled his investment in just 2 weeks.
So one of the main points here is rather than just trying to figure out reading a bunch of financial statements and doing a bunch of research, what stock's going to go up. You just follow these dudes, these insiders with great track records, and then you just draft behind them like in NASCAR or whatever.
That's it, man. Get in the draft.
That's awesome. So when you were showing me this stuff recently, I could not believe how many of these insider trades take place. I pulled it up on my Bloomberg and I looked at all these insider trades, and it was just like thousands a day.
Oh, yeah.
So I got lost in all that information. How do you know which ones to follow?
Yeah, that's another great question. And this is something really, really important. It's what most people miss. I get a lot of, every time I have an event or a webinar, people say, what about Insider Monkey and these sites that give this information for free? Here's what they don't do. They're not telling you what trades to ignore. And knowing what trades to ignore is just as important, if not more important, than knowing which ones to follow. I'll show you what I mean. One thing is option exercises. So a lot of these C-level executives, they get stock options as part of their compensation. And just before the options expire, before they do, well, they sell them to collect their profits, but they have to convert them to stock to do that. Now, it's going to show up as a buy, but it's not. They're just cashing out. So these trades have to be ignored. Next are those that are part of a routine buying schedule. So let's say the CFO picks up 10,000 shares on January 1st every year. Well, it's a big trade, but it's not significant. He's not acting on or trying to exploit new information, so we have to throw those out too. You also would ignore trades that are very small. Let's say you've got a fat cat CEO of a major corporation buying, $5,000 worth of stock. That doesn't show me any conviction. That's not a big trade for someone of that caliber. But if we had a low-level director investing a couple million, on the other hand, that's a high-conviction trade. It's a lot of money for him, so it's something I'm going to pay attention to. And then once you filter out the institutional buyers, trust activity, and insiders with poor track records, you're left with a much more actionable set of trades. And these are the ones that can climb 200, 300, even 500% in a year. Now, it seems impossible, but again, think about it. They're only buying when it is a no-brainer opportunity. So better than expected earnings figures, a merger that hasn't been reported yet, a pending FDA approval for a new drug. These folks are betting their own money, so they only do it when it's close to a sure thing.
You're obviously, and for good reason, it seems, very confident in these trades, because you've said this to me earlier, and I think you got a slide for this. You're guaranteeing all new subscribers have the chance to earn $100,000 over the next 12 months.
That's right.
And at the end of this presentation, at my insistence, you're going to tell us about your top 3 picks right now, like publicly on this presentation.
I am. And each of the 3 stocks I'm going to be recommending to new members today have seen huge insider buying in recent weeks. And I think all of them could easily double as soon as the end of the year. Okay,
that's awesome. Now, I know you've been in the business for a long time. You ran a managed fund. You were vice president at JP Morgan. Mm-hmm. You dealt with a ton of high net worth investors, but still the same after all of that, you were telling me that the service that you're doing here is designed specifically for regular folks like me with a retail trading account. So even if someone only has a few $1,000s to start with, that's okay.
Exactly. Yes. And look, here's what I've learned when you deal with a lot of high net worth clients, folks that have 10 million plus, they tend to be fairly risk averse. And to be honest, they have that luxury. 5 or 6% a year is plenty for them. But if you're staring down the barrel of retirement and you've only got 5, 10, 50, even $100,000 saved, you've got to be more aggressive. You need some big winners, stocks that can climb several 100%. And this is the best way to find them. I'll show you another one. On October 16th, the CEO and Chief Strategy Officer of Planet Green Holdings invested $5 million each in their stock. 24 hours later, the company announced it had secured a long-awaited financing agreement to expand operations. What do you think the stock did? Yeah, it took off. This stock climbed so fast, the exchange actually had to halt trading on the stock. And guess what? It's all completely legal thanks to one little obscure SEC rule.
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up, because let's go ahead and address this issue right now, because I'm sure everyone is wondering the same thing that I did when you first talked to me about this. How in the heck is this legal?
This is the question I get more than anything else. So I want to make this clear, first of all. Quote, insider trading is technically illegal, but the arrests are extremely rare. And the ones you do see, it's hedge fund managers, it's traders, it's not company insiders, because insiders are protected by an SEC loophole called the 10b5-1 rule. And essentially what it says is this: as long as the insider has a written plan for when he will buy and sell his company stock, he is immune from insider trading violations. But Rob, this rule is so vague, it is laughable, because the plan for when the insider intends to buy and sell can be anything, even his own proprietary formula. I mean, this guy can state he's going to buy and sell stocks based on the phase of the moon if he wants to. The SEC doesn't even require them to disclose the plan's existence, its provisions, or any changes made to it. The 10b5-1 plan, instead of being filed with the SEC, is simply set up with a brokerage firm. It can be changed, modified, or canceled at any time for any reason, so it's basically a free-for-all. The only hard rule they must follow is reporting their trades. And they do this in what's known as a Form 4. Insiders have to disclose how many shares they bought, at what price, and when, and these are the filings I track. I can scan for new trades at any time and see exactly what insiders are buying right now.
All right, so this is probably the first time that me having gone to law school actually comes in handy from 20 years ago. So I looked all of this stuff up as well, and when I realized that this is totally legal, it was crazy to me. And I don't think that most people realized that you could see these insider trades in what is essentially real time, because I know that I didn't. So obviously they have a huge advantage over everyone else, but you're taking advantage, that same advantage, and using it for yourself and your subscribers. I mean, basically these company insiders like Mr. Brady, they're basically feeding you inside tips on a stock.
That's it. Yeah, it's a really simple concept.
Okay, so the next question that comes up then is, they feed you an inside tip. Mm-hmm. How quickly do these stocks move? Is it like the next day? Is it the next week?
So it depends. Sometimes a stock will jump almost immediately, but most of the trades are going to take a few months to play out. For example, this is No Labs. Last June, the CEO bought 1.2 million shares completely out of nowhere. Now, it took 2 months, but the stock ran 771%. He's not even the only guy at No Labs doing this. The chairman of the board is a guy named Ronald Erickson. Now, he's made 2 trades since joining the company. Look at where he bought. Now, this guy's got a base salary of $180,000. Meanwhile, he's made $1.5 million trading his company stock. So, when these guys know what they're doing, it's basically a license to print money. And like you said, all we have to do is just piggyback their trades.
Okay. So you and I were talking about this earlier, but I'm sure everyone's going to still want to hear it. You said, and this seems crazy to me, that we actually have an advantage over these insiders. Could you explain that?
That's right. Insiders have to comply with something known as the short swing rule. So they're not allowed to sell their stock for 6 months after they buy it. Otherwise, the government forces them to forfeit their profits. So this essentially gives us 2 advantages. First, we know they're thinking long term. Since they can't sell for 6 months, insiders only buy and expect their stock to go up and stay up. So these tend to be sustained moves. And second, we can sell whenever we want. So if we get that quick move of a couple 100%, we can go ahead and sell and book our profits quickly.
So they buy and you buy and the stock goes up, but they have to wait 6 months to sell and realize that profit. But you and I can take our profits anytime we want.
Exactly. And look, it's no secret that tracking insiders is highly profitable. In a moment, I'll show you all the research that proves it. But think about it. These people know their companies inside and out. They know how well new products are selling. They know when they're about to announce a huge earnings number or complete a big acquisition. They know if they're about to be bought out at a higher price. It is a huge, huge, huge advantage. So these are the people that you, as an investor, want to be tracking.
All right. And I know you've been tracking these guys for years. You're pretty much the expert on it because I know you've been on CNBC and Fox and Bloomberg and a bunch of other networks. I don't know how many people saw this, but you were on Stu Varney's show on Fox a few years ago. And you were the first person that I remember on that show, or really any show, calling for Dow 20,000. And you did it live in front of millions of viewers. And Varney laughed at you, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Varney thought I was crazy.
Well, it was a great call, and the Dow got to 19,900, 987.
Yeah.
So you called it almost to the dollar, to the penny. What made you so bullish? Because everyone was looking for the market to crash back then.
Well, Rob, you're one of the few people that is really good at tuning out the noise and just looking at the right data. And when you do that, it's very easy to see. What I do is I track the smartest investors in the world, the insiders. And the insiders were buying like crazy. It was some of the highest insider buying we had seen in years. So it was very obvious that we had a lot further to go. Now, these guys, these insiders, they buy the lows with incredible accuracy. And what this does is gives you a huge advantage, especially when the market takes a dip. Now, what you're looking at here on the chart is the insider buy-sell ratio for the overall market. So the higher those green bars are, the more insiders are buying, the lower the less. Look at where they got in. They bought big at the 2009 lows, the 2011 pullback, the one in late 15 when I called the Dow 20,000, and then again last December before the market skyrocketed in 2019. All of the best times to buy over the last decade. And it's like this across every sector. This is financials. It looks the same in utilities. And take a look at basic materials. Insiders bought into every big low perfectly. So these are the people that you really need to be watching.
I would have paid a lot of money to see that chart 10 years ago. I mean, if you go back to the spot on there like 2008, 2009, look at that huge spike. in that time period.
Oh, without a doubt. It was here we had the highest level of insider buying came right at the low of the financial crisis. I mean, at that time, the Dow was at 6,500. Okay,
That's crazy.
Today it's over 26,000. You know, can you imagine how different your life would be if you'd seen this chart, if you were following these guys and you knew it was the time to buy, how rich you would be right now? I mean, we're talking about having the chance to buy Google at $166 a share, Apple at $13. Guys, this is just 2009. It's a decade ago. You could have bought Amazon for $63. Last year, the stock hit $2,000. Okay, a 3,000% gain. When I told you that following insiders is the best kept secret on Wall Street, this is what I mean. It is life-changing for investors.
Okay, well, let's talk about today. I know you're going to recommend 3 stocks to new members today, but I got to see some more examples of this. I cannot get enough of seeing these examples.
I got hundreds of them. So just following insider trades would have tipped you off to a 616% gain on Kronos Worldwide, 687% on Heska, 912 on Applied Optoelectronics, 1,249% gain on CRH Medical, 1,531% on LendingTree, an incredible 1,688% gain on Chemet Corp. These are all stock gains, all from just following insiders.
Okay, so how are you finding these stocks? Because you showed me the SEC database where all these records are, and I went in there, and it's a total cluster.
It is. Well, let me show you how this works. So basically, to break it down, every time an insider buys or sells his or her company stock, they have to file what's known as a Form 4. It looks like this. This is one from Elon Musk. It's going to give you the insider's name, his position, details of the trade, etc. Now, these filings are instantly uploaded to the SEC's EDGAR database, which is free for anyone to access. So after this webinar, I encourage you to go to sec.gov, go through it, check it. You'll see what I'm talking about, and you'll verify what Rob mentioned, that the thing is archaic. I mean, you literally have to search manually, one stock at a time, and dig through all these public filings to find the Form 4. So, when I got started, I'd spend hundreds of hours digging through these things one at a time just to find a couple of good trades. I mean, it was exhausting.
That is exhausting. Now, you're not doing that manually anymore, are you?
Oh, heck no. No, I eventually wised up and got a programmer. It was just too much data to sift through. We were able to build a system together with institutional Bloomberg data that collects all that trade info and puts it into a usable format. Now, it's real time, so I get the data the second it hits the wire, and now I can filter for opportunistic trades, the ones that have led to the biggest stock moves in the past. So when an insider makes a large buy, I can see if anyone else at the company is buying, if this insider has bought in the past, and how those trades worked out. Does this person buy a lot? Is this a rare occurrence? All the things you need to get the whole picture and find the very best trades.
Okay, so obviously it's working, and I know you've closed out some really big gains this year. Here's the one thing I was wondering. Do certain kinds of stocks tend to do better than others?
Yes. Some industries, they tend to make larger and faster moves than others. Biotech, for example, pharmaceuticals. These stocks can move really quick because all it takes is a positive drug trial or an FDA approval and the stock goes crazy. For example, this is Viking Therapeutics. It's a small biopharmaceutical company focused on metabolic and endocrine disorders. Now, on May 29th, 3 board members bought large chunks of the stock all on the same day. Now, this will be noteworthy by itself. This is also the first time any of them had ever bought. So to me, it was clear they knew something. 48 hours later, the company announced positive phase 2 results for a drug they're developing known as MGL3196. And as expected, the stock went up about 157% in just 2 weeks.
How often do you catch these kinds of moves? I mean, obviously you can't get them all.
No, you're right, and it's frustrating. You're never going to get them all. We have, however, handed our Insider Report members a lot of nice wins in the sector. We issued a buy recommendation on a little med tech firm called Corindus Vascular Robotics in March at $1.60 a share. It went up 58% in the first 4 days. We immediately took profits off, continued higher. The stock ended up getting bought out for letting us book a gain of about 167%. This is over, I think, 4 months period. So, pretty quick move there.
Yeah, that's incredible. So where else can you make profits like this? Like what kinds of other stocks?
I hate to even mention them because I hate the sector as a group, but pot stocks have handed us some nice gains as well. We got into innovative industrial properties at $41 a few months back when insiders started buying. This is one of those trades that just wouldn't quit. Stock tripled in a few months. We took a ton of profits on the way up for a 239% gain at the peak. But we've seen success in tons of sectors. One of our first recommendations was Etsy, the online retailer. We issued a buy rec back at $15.73. The stock ran more than 300%. We made a quick 283% on a breast implant company called Sientra, closed out a 438% win on a frozen food company called Lamb Weston. There are a lot of opportunities out there. You just have to watch what the insiders are buying, or obviously become a member of the Insider Report, and we'll hand you the best opportunities each month.
Okay, we'll talk about that real quick, but why are insider trades such a good signal to buy compared to other signals to buy?
Well, think about it. The only real way to know if a CEO believes in his company is to see where he's putting his own money. Everything else is just noise. It's just hype. Now, the insiders I track are buying in their personal accounts. They're buying because they know with every fiber of their being that the company is trading to a huge discount to its real value. Look, they only buy for one of two reasons. Number one, the stock is beaten down and selling for a lot less than it's worth, so a classic value trade. Or number two, the company is doing extremely well, but the market doesn't know it yet. Either way, when they're buying, it is the best heads up you can get.
So it's kind of like you're tracking the world's best value investors. So if you're conservative, you like risk management, you should love this type of strategy.
Without a doubt. On the subject of conservative, let's look at a super conservative stock. How about Walmart? I think that fits the bill. This is Walmart stock from 2013 through mid-2019. Now, let me ask you guys, hypothetically, if you had a time machine, you could go back wherever you wanted and pluck this stock, where on that chart would you like to have bought? If you could buy anywhere. Not a trick question.
It's like obvious, right?
Give you that hindsight, right?
Yeah.
Right about there? Yeah, right there at the low. I mean, that would be an ideal situation. Let me show you where the insiders bought.
Oh, man. Oh, my gosh.
That's the only, Rob, it's the only insider buying in 6.5 years of one of the largest companies on the planet, comes right at the low. You can't time it any better than that.
I mean, what this proves to me is it's not just a small micro cap stock kind of phenomenon. This is true. This is a universal principle that's true no matter the size of the company. And
Definitely.
That, to me, is about as good as you can do it. So that brings up the question, do most of the winners come from big stocks like Walmart or smaller ones?
Well, the best picks tend to be smaller, the lesser known stocks. And the reason is you're just not going to get the kind of mind-blowing returns from Amazon or Walmart or Google. They're too big already. Right. Amazon is worth like $1 trillion. Heads up, it's not going to go up 400% next year. It's not physically possible. But these small stocks, they have a lot more room to grow. So that's where the big winners usually are. I'll give you another example. Not long ago, we noticed fresh insider buying in Pulse Biosciences. 5 days later, the company announced a long-awaited FDA submission. The stock jumped immediately, giving investors a chance to triple their money in about 6 weeks. Then there was Every Holdings. In May, the CEO made his largest share purchase ever. The next day, he doubled it. So it was obvious that he knew something. You could have easily followed this trade and been sitting on a 628% gain. And take a look at Resolute Energy. 1 December, insiders went crazy for this stock. The president, CEO, CFO, directors, everybody was getting in. 12 insider buys in just 2 weeks. Now, at the time, this was a little $60 million micro cap stock. No one was talking about it. But a few months after insiders got in, shares went for a 1,036% run. Now, guess what? Everybody started paying attention then, but the move had already happened. The only way you would have known to buy Resolute early was by following the insiders.
This stuff is mind-blowing, Ross. It's crazy to think that you could have bought that stock for $4 using your strategy and made 1,000% in just over a year.
It's wild. I've got to show you one more because this one always blows my mind. This is Champions Oncology. Now, it IPO'd back in 2015. Stock's basically gone nowhere ever since. Watch how the CEO traded this stock. He made 6 buys in a row at the dead low, then 2 more right before the stock doubles again. Now, look, this guy is not lucky. He's also not a master trader, but he is uniquely qualified to determine when his stock is cheap and when it's about to go up, because he knows his stock better than anyone else on the planet, just like the rest of the insiders have been looking at. And like you said earlier, it's hard to believe this is even legal.
Yeah, it is. And it brings up another question. So there's so many of these insiders, there's so many executives, like there's 6,000 whatever publicly traded companies on the major exchanges,
Right.
and each one of them has multiple executives and directors. So how do you know what to look for?
Well, there's a few things. So on top of the trades we mentioned ignoring earlier, I found that there are three primary signals for profitable insider trading. Three things you want to look for. The first is perfect track record insider. So like our CEO here at Champions Oncology, if they have a history of consistently buying the lows or right before a big move higher, I'm going to pay attention when they trade again.
Yeah, so that makes sense. What else is there?
Well, the second signal is something I call cluster buying. Now, cluster buying is when several insiders are getting in at the same time. One of the best examples was this stock, Clayton Williams Energy. We saw cluster buy when the president, two directors, and the VP of gas gathering all bought at the same time. Now, they got in for around $9 a share. A month later, the stock had doubled. By the end of the year, they were sitting on a 1,436% gain. I mean, think about that. This is a small company. This could have been your neighbor, giving you a nudge, nudge, wink, wink out in the driveway. Hey, me and my buddies are getting in on the stock. Might be a good time to buy some. You say, what the hell? You put 10 grand in the stock. It's April. Come Christmas, you have 150 grand, 15 times your money in just under 9 months.
All right. So if an insider buys, well, at least consistently buys the lows right before the stock takes off, that's like number one.
Right.
Number two is cluster buying, when you see several folks, executives, directors, all buying at the same time. What's the third one?
So the third signal is the first-time buyer. Now, there are some insiders who regularly buy their stock, but the guy who has never bought shares before yet is now sends a strong signal. I'm not talking about someone who's new at the company. This would be an insider who's worked there a while and only now decided to jump in. What does that insider know that is different from prior years? Why are they buying now? Take Richard Levy. Richard's on the board of directors of Madrigal Pharmaceuticals, and one day he picks up over 9,000 shares of stock in just 3 days, completely out of nowhere. 4 weeks later, the company announced positive drug trial results and the stock launched. Now, once again, with the same scenario. Here's a guy who spends more than a year on the board of directors. He does not own one single share of stock. Then he buys 3 times just weeks before it took off. Again, do we think this is luck? Rob, when's the last time you bought a stock and it went up 800% in 90 days? It doesn't happen. I hate to even show this next chart because I don't like to create unrealistic expectations, but I want you to see what is possible. By June, Madrigal was up almost 2,000% since our insider bought, and this is in less than 1 year. So why do I follow insiders? This is why I follow insiders, especially first-time buyers. Now, there are a few other things I look for, but Rob, these are the big three. These are the best 3 signals: perfect track record insiders, cluster buying, and first-time buyers. So you follow those trades, you can make a lot of money.
It definitely appears to be the case. It seems like this is a lot of evidence. Do you have a favorite signal, one that does better than the other two?
Well, the best trades usually have multiple buy signals. For example, this was a recommendation sent out a few months back. The stock is In-Phase Energy. The vice president, CFO, and chief executive officer, they all bought on the same day. Now, these insiders, they also had perfect track records, like we mentioned earlier. Their last trades were up as much as 1,290%. Third, the stock was at all-time high. So we had 3 clear signals that In-Phase was about to take off. 1, it's a cluster buy. 2, they're buying into all-time highs. 3, they all had perfect track records.
So the question is, what has that stock done since?
Well, in the few months after we recommended it, it is more than quadrupled. It continues to push higher. It's been a fantastic performer. Now, I should note, we also recommend a call option with every stock pick in the insider report. So if instead of buying the stock, you could have picked up the August $10 calls. They're trading for $1.30 at the time. 4 months later, these options were worth more than $19 a piece, a gain of 1,371%. And look, anyone could have made this trade. 5 contracts or 5 call options would have cost you about $650. That $650 would have turned into $9,500. Again, we're just talking about a few cheap call options here.
That's a heck of a trade. So Ross, can you tell everyone what kind of things these insiders have access to? Because it's not just earnings, right?
No, yeah, earnings are really just the tip of the iceberg. Insiders have access to all sorts of private information about their company. Things like if sales are going up, if they are gaining major new customers or planning to launch a new product, a new service, if any legal action is about to be resolved, positive drug trials like we saw earlier, if they're about to merge or acquire another company, and other things you can't even imagine. That's really the only difficult part. You know they're buying, but you often don't know why until the news hits the headlines weeks later.
That's got to be a great feeling, though, because when everyone else is chasing the stock that just took off, you already own it, thanks to the insiders. So you're taking profits while everyone else is still figuring out or trying to figure out what just happened.
That's it, man. It's the only way to beat the market. You have to be first. You have to get in early before the news comes out. And who knows the news before it comes out? Yeah, the people who work there, right? The insider. So it just makes sense to follow them for tips.
Okay. Now, you run a service called the Insider Report where you track these trades.
That's right.
What does it take to do this research? Could someone do this by themselves if they wanted to?
It is possible to do on your own, yes, but you'll literally kill yourself trying because about 4,000 insider transactions take place every single day. So it'll be impossible to manually go through these Form 4s one at a time. The first thing you'll need is a sophisticated system to filter through the data. But even then, you really have to know what you're doing, have the experience to dig deep. Now, my team and I, we're going to research the insider's buying history. We're going to look at their past trades, see how often the stock sees insider buying. We're going to filter out option trades and routine purchases and institutional activity, et cetera. And only then can we really sort through to find the best signals like cluster buys and first-time purchases.
Okay, so that sounds like a ton of work.
It is.
And so I like doing research, but I don't like doing that much research. And I think most people are kind of like me.
Sure.
They rather would just let someone who's the expert that's been doing it well for a long time do the work. And then I would just let you give me the 3 or 4 best trades every month. Because clearly the strategy works. But one question comes up, like, has there been any like third-party statistical studies of this research to back it up?
There has. There's been academic research proving that even blindly following insider trading is extremely profitable. For example, a Wharton School of Business study concluded that investors can reap exceptional profits by imitating insiders. A Harvard Business School study found that when a top insider buys his or her company stock, it rises by an average of 31% in the next 6 months. They also determined that following opportunistic insider trades would have returned an additional 21.6% annualized rate of return on top of the market since the year 2000.
So that's an extra 21.6% a year just by following insiders?
That's right. Another 21.6% on top of the market's return. Let me show you what that looks like, Rob. Since the year 2000, $100,000 in an index fund would have grown to about $286,000, which is not bad. But you could have grown it to over $11 million just from following the right insiders. No options, no leverage, just buying the right stocks at the right time. And once again, this is common sense because these investors have inside information. They know more than anyone else in the market does. And following them, as you can see, can hand you really big profits.
And just to be crystal clear, this is perfectly legal, right?
100% legal. I mean, we're literally getting our trade ideas from the SEC's website. It does not get any more legal than that.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The government is feeding you the signals. That
Right.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, so let's get to what everyone here that I invited to this webinar has been waiting for, because we've seen your research and we've seen the potential profits that come from that research. So let's look forward to tomorrow. Tell us about 3 picks that you're recommending to members right now, because the last time you published a special report like this, one of the stocks tripled in less than a year. So listen, everybody, whatever you're doing right now, like pause your phone, like just stop for a minute, because I would pay really close attention to what Ross is about to say.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. My first pick is a very unique real estate investment trust. Now, it's unlike any other REIT you've ever seen because the company specializes in something called ground leases. So, for example, let's say you want to build where land is very expensive, maybe a skyscraper in Manhattan or a family estate in the Hollywood Hills. That's where these guys come in. The company buys these valuable tracts of land and then leases them back to the builder. Now, the stock is up 5 times more than the market year to date. It will likely continue for the next 12 to 18 months. The CEO bought 12.5 million shares a couple months ago. He made 8 more buys last month, another last week. So between his appetite for the stock, the incredible growth of this business, and the inflow of institutional money, I'm looking for a move of 150 to 200% on this stock.
All right, what's the second one?
My next pick is a deep discount value play. Now, Warren Buffett once said that investors should, quote, buy when there's blood on the streets. And this stock is definitely bloody. Now, the entire sector has taken a hit recently thanks to the China fiasco, but this stock was oversold. It is simply too cheap, and insiders know it. Company directors bought 5 times this month for an investment of almost $500,000. These are also the first purchases by anyone in the company in more than 3 years. But the stock is recovering quickly. It's up 71% in the last 3 weeks and showing no signs of slowing down. Based on our projections, we think the stock could climb as much as 317% over the next 12 months.
Both of those look really strong. What's the third one look like?
My last pick is a small, little-known energy stock. Now, this company's most influential insider just bought 5 times to pick up 2.5 million shares. He's a perfect track record insider who hasn't bought in over 3 years. The last time he did, the stock almost doubled in under 3 months. The energy sector as well is seeing huge insider buying right now, so this is the perfect time to get in and piggyback these in-the-know investors. Small stocks like this one can make big moves, and I'm looking for several 100% on the upside. You could also play this with cheap, out-of-the-money call options. Now, these carry more risk, but if the stock takes off, you'll make up to 21 times your money. So $1,000 will turn into $21,000, $5,000 into $105,000. Obviously, Rob, I can't guarantee these returns, and no trade is entirely without risk. But even if it does half as well as I expect, you could multiply your money many times over.
Okay. So you've got one trade with a 200% profit potential, a second one with a potential for a 317% return, right, and the third that if you use options could return as much as 2,100%. So how do people get in on this?
Well, first, let me say these 3 trades will move fast because the market doesn't yet know what the insiders know. But when investors find out, the stock, as we've seen again and again, will take off. So now is the time to be decisive. I've just wrapped up a report on these 3 stocks, and new Insider Report subscribers can download it immediately. The report is called The Best Traders You've Never Heard of, How to Pocket $100,000 Following Insiders.
You're sending this report for free to everyone who joins the Insider Report today. So right, why don't, if you don't mind, just take a minute and tell everyone kind of what's included and what they can expect when they get your service.
Sure. It works like this. When we find the perfect setups, like the 3 trades I'm recommending now, I blast out an email to my Insider Report subscribers recommending the stock as a buy. These email alerts are straightforward. They're easy to read. They include a write-up on the stock, why I'm recommending it, which insiders are buying, and exactly where to place a stop. And then when it's time to take our profits, I send out a sell recommendation. I also include an option play with each stock pick. So the moment we see the surprise news, whether it be a press release, earnings report, government approval, whatever, and the stock screams higher, I can show you a way to make 5 or 10 times more than you make on a stock trade using options. This is especially advantageous for small account traders because with call options, you can start with as little as a few $100 per trade and quickly build up your capital.
Okay, and how many recommendations will members receive?
We usually send out 3 to 4 recommendations each month. Some months could see more, occasionally less. It just depends on how many opportunities present themselves. I'm very picky about only recommending the absolute best trades.
Okay. Now, as a trader, I know that the biggest gains come from the snowball effect, pyramiding right, one winner into another. And with some of the stocks that we've seen here, the potential to multiply your money is astronomical.
Without a doubt. I put together a little example when we were talking about this the other day. And what we're going to do is look at 3 of the stocks I showed earlier, just assuming these fell one after another. Now, had you started with just $5,000, you could have grown that to $21,050 in just 2 days with Planet Green Holding stock. Putting that money into No Labs for 2 months would have grown it to $183,344. And then rolling all those profits into extra space storage would have added another 1,191%, bringing your total to $2,366,971. That is 473 times your initial investment.
3 trades starting with $5,000 and it turns into $2.3 million.
That's it. Now, look, obviously, this is a best case scenario. Anytime you put money in the market, you take on risk. But even a fraction of that would still be life-changing for most people. The bigger point here is that following Wall Street's most successful insiders and buying undervalued and pre-breakout stocks is the easiest and simplest way to ensure you win often and ensure you win big. The academic research proves it, my research proves it, and certainly the track records of these insiders prove it.
All right, so now I'd like to invite everyone that's here to get the details on these 3 trades. You have seen Ross's research. You've seen the incredible track record of the insiders that his service follows. And now you have the opportunity to join them. So here's the deal. I talked to Ross about this earlier. I think you've got a slide ready on some of this stuff. Here's the deal. You'll receive 12 months of the trade alerts. I'm getting these as well. They're easy to read, buy and sell recommendations. You'll get 3 to 4, right, Ross? 3 to 4 new trades every month?
That's right.
Okay. Along with a weekly trade summary. And of course, instant access to the bonus report, how to pocket $100,000 following insiders. Now, Ross, that's not everything. So tell us about this special offer that you're making today.
Well, I wanted everyone to see how it feels to make big money in the stock market. So what I've done is I put together a special package with everything you need to succeed to make sure you cannot fail. So here's the deal. First, you will get my new report entitled How to Pocket $100,000 Following Insiders. This gives you the names, the ticker symbols, the full details on my top 3 picks right now, each of which could make you tens of thousands of dollars. This is the same type of report I've offered to institutional clients for $30,000. So even at 10% of that cost, this has a value of $29.97. You're going to receive full membership to the Insider Report. This includes the 3 to 4 new stock picks each month, easy to read, buy and sell recommendations. It includes a weekly executive summary of the trade activity. It takes an incredible amount of research and expertise to publish this. At $4,000 a month, that's a retail value of $48,000. You're also going to receive real-time buy and sell alerts along with 24/7 portfolio monitoring. So there's nothing for you to track. You'll be alerted instantly by email anytime you need to take any action. Around the clock, hands-on monitoring like this usually costs at least $2,000. As a member of the Insider Report, you'll have full access to our trading support staff and, when needed, direct support from me. This VIP client service, a $997 value, is included at no cost. And finally, my personal $100,000 guarantee. If you do not realize profits of $100,000 in your first 12 months as a subscriber, my entire team will work for a second year for free. But you won't pay anywhere near the full $58,000 value you're going to get out of this. Now, the usual price of this package is $49.97, and it normally sells out quickly at that price. If you go to the website now, in fact, that's the price you'll see. But Rob, as a special thanks to you for having me on, and a thank you to all of you for joining us today, I've created a special coupon code just for you. When you go check out, enter the promo code ROB, it's R-O-B, and you'll get a full $3,000 off. So right now, you can join the Insider Report for just $1,997. That is 60% off the normal price. However, the offer is only good for the first 50 people who sign up. After that, this code will stop working. So guys, this is not the time to procrastinate. I would hate for you to click over, put in the coupon code, and the price still shows $49.97. If it happens, make sure you didn't mistype it, try to put it back in, because without the Rob coupon code, you're going to miss the chance to save that $3,000. And again, this discounted price is only good for the first 50 people who sign up today. So you have 2 choices. Choice number 1 is to do nothing. Just pass this opportunity by, which is 100% risk-free. My team and I, we're not going anywhere. Market Traders Daily has been in business for over a decade. You can always come back and join the Insider Report at a later time. But the special offer is only good for 50 people. And chances are they'll be gone by the time we wrap up this webinar. You're not going to get the 60% off discount if you wait until tomorrow. But that's your first option. However, if you do that, what's going to change in your life? Nothing. So if your trading is great, you live in the house you want, drive the car you want, you take all the vacations you want, your retirement account is looking fat, everything in your life is perfect, take option number one. But if that's not the case, if you're looking for more in your life, a new opportunity, a better life for you and your family, the people you can support and serve, I recommend taking a look at option number two, which is this. Make this small investment today, which is nothing compared to all the value you get in return, and just give it a shot. So go ahead and sign up now. This is it. There is no waiting. If the coupon code still works, then we still have packages available at that discounted price. So if there are, I would suggest grabbing one quickly. With over 5,000 people expected on this webinar, fewer than 1% will get in. So you've got to make a choice. Do you want to be an insider or do you want to remain an outsider? As soon as you order, you'll receive your username and password as a secure site. You can access all of my research and immediately download your report, The Best Traders You've Never Heard of, How to Pocket $100,000 Following Insiders. So go to the link markettradersdaily.com/yes. You can review all the details of this offer. Now, let me open it up to a few questions.
All right, Ross, that's so awesome. I know I took advantage of this. I know that a lot of my folks that are here today are going to take advantage of this so that we can do this together. So I just want to encourage everyone, if you are here right now, take advantage. Grab one of those 50 because when they're gone. And you don't want to be super excited about grabbing one of those and then not have it be available. That's the worst feeling in the world. So I don't want you to miss out on this. I want to make sure you feel comfortable doing this. I'm in on this. Ross, I've known him for a ton of time. I've seen the research that he does. You do not want to miss the chance to do this. So Ross, first of all, I just want to say thank you. I'm totally in on this with you. I got a couple of questions that came in. Do you mind if I ask a couple on behalf of some of the folks that are here?
Absolutely. Let's get to as many as we can.
Okay, first of all, one of the biggest questions was folks have they either have a bunch of money or they have a smaller trading account, but in either case, they want to start with $500 or $1,000 or $2,000. They want to test the waters on these trades. Are they going to be able to log in and try these trades out with an account that's on the smaller side?
Sure. That's one of the main reasons that we always include an option trade with each of those because they're specifically designed for that smaller trader. You know, most of our call options are $1, $2. So, you know, call that $100, $200 per contract. You can get in with fairly limited risk. And we've examined our track record before, and the option track record is actually much better than the stock just because options are going to move more than the stock. So if we recommend a pick, let's say the stock goes up 10%, that option's usually up 80, 90, 100% by that point. So you can quickly, you know, take your profits, get all your money back, and ride the rest of it out. Absolutely designed for traders of all account sizes.
Okay, that's awesome. And if somebody has, I'm getting a ton of questions here from folks that use Thinkorswim or Tastyworks. Those ones are the main ones, but some of them, I've seen a bunch of other platforms in there, like a regular brokerage account, right? That's all they need?
Yep. Anything you can use. I mean, Schwab, E-Trade, Tasty, Thinkorswim, anything you do. I mean, anything you can trade a stock on is fine. When it comes to the options, almost every trading platform allows you to trade options now. You don't need any special clearance. We're not doing exotic option trades or condors or selling naked. It's simply buying this call. Here's the strike. Here's the symbol. We even include the full ticker symbol of that option so you can just copy and paste it into your platform and click buy. We make it as simple as possible. And like I said, it's designed for everyday traders. Even if we've had people who've never bought a stock before, who've never bought an option before, who've joined the service and done extremely well because we go the extra mile to make it as simple and straightforward as humanly possible.
That is absolutely. I know you're the kind of person that if somebody is struggling with something, you're just going to take them by the hand and tell them exactly and explicitly, step by step, what they got to do.
Yeah, you have to. You know, the last thing you want is someone to say, you know what, I've got this money I worked hard for. I'm going to put it into the stock market. I'm take this risk. I'm scared. The last thing you want is for them to have a bad experience and swerve off investing. You know, you remember what it was like. I mean, it's been a while, Rob. But at one point, you didn't know much about the market.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to remember that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Some people asked if they can do this from their phone. And I'm going to do this from my phone. I'm actually probably never going to log into a desktop or a laptop platform. I'm probably going to take every single one of these, as I do with almost everything I do, just straight from my phone. So
you can do it.
Have a phone, like let's say you have a full-time job, you get the alert on the fly. That's all you need. Like you just need your phone. You don't need to be sitting at a computer. That's one of the greatest things about this too. It's not like day trading or they're not going to be sitting in front of the computer smashing buttons for 4 hours every morning which is just a giant waste of time.
Oh, without a doubt. That's one of the great things about this service is it's not, like you said, it's not a day trading service. We're not getting in Monday morning and out Monday afternoon. If you're looking for that kind of experience, there's other places to find it. This will disappoint you. I'm just going to be honest. This is not for you. This is for people who want to buy a stock or an option, hold it for 3 weeks, 3 months, maybe as long as 6 months to a year, see those profits over the long term. But it's not something where you get the alert. And if you don't buy that stock within 30 minutes, you miss out. 9 times out of 10, if we send a recommendation Monday afternoon, you don't see it till Tuesday or Wednesday. You can usually still get in around the same price and not have any issues.
Okay. Well, that covers most of the main questions. I mean, there's a bunch of questions here that wanted to have you repeat the guarantee that they're going to have the potential to make. I'm just going to make sure. I'm going to check like 100,000. You have it on the slide here, but I just want to make sure I hear these words come out of your mouth again.
You will have the chance to earn $100,000 in profits.
Is going to have the chance to make $100,000 off of these recommendations.
That's correct. Yeah, in the first 12 months, and if not, I'll work for you for free. We'll give you a second year for free. I don't like to work for free, but I don't think I'm going to have to. The sweet spot for you, if you really wanted to stick it to me, would be you want me to make you about $95,000. That's the sweet spot. So you make a really nice living, a really nice return, then get an extra year of the service. But I wouldn't count on that. I wouldn't. I'm very confident in our ability to produce these returns. So, I think we have a special offer for a second year of this service at a super discounted price, just as another thank you for joining us today. So if I were you, I would take advantage of that while you can and lock that up now.
Okay. That's awesome. I'm hearing from a ton of people that are in. I'm in together with you all. So I'll be in there with you. Roz, I just want to say thank you again. If you see any questions that we haven't gotten to, be my guest.
Let me
of course.
thank some of the people who've joined. I've seen these orders come in along with the questions. Jeff, Stephen, Michael, Wayne, thank you for signing up. Welcome to the Insider Report. Look forward to working with you. Joseph, Andrew, Jesse, Mary, William, Kathleen, Rajesh, Laurel, Marin, Neil, goodness to go on, Stuart, Sophia. Thank you all for joining us. Looks like we've about at least half, maybe more of the 50 have already been scooped up. So there's not a whole lot of time left. If you guys want to use that ROB coupon code and join us, one of the questions I get the most, and you kind of touched on this earlier, Rob, is who is this for? And I'm not trying to be this is for everybody. Everyone can do it, but really it is so straightforward and so simple. The only people who are going to be disappointed, and it's the only people that it's not for, are those that really want an active 10 trades a week. I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out, and click, and pay a fortune in commissions to your broker. That is not what this is. But if you're a new investor or experienced, if you're a retiree, you can do this in an IRA, small accounts, large accounts. Anyone who really just wants to generate more money is who we designed this for. And I've got an 11-year-old nephew who I've actually set up an account. He started trading stocks with me just to get him started early, and I've sent him some of these recommendations just to make sure that it doesn't take a lot of experience. You don't have to be a seasoned veteran. It is as point blank, straightforward and simple as it can possibly be.
That's awesome. That is so great. Thank you so much for talking to my folks. I know that everyone here is just as excited as I am about being a part of this. And I am really looking forward to the next 12 months, 24 months, as long as you possibly are willing to do this. I cannot wait to follow along with these.
Well, thank you. I'm excited. I'm happy to have you on board. You're a legend to investors, Rob, and a big inspiration to a lot of traders, especially new traders getting started. So I appreciate you having me on and letting me to share this with your people. I think you're going to get a lot of value out of it. As I mentioned before, we've had members come on. This guy, one of my early members, Steven, said, I'd never traded options or stock before. He comes in with a $2,000 account and already paid for his first year subscription. So I want you guys to have the same experiences. I want you to see what it's like. Like James here, made 50%, five options, made $2,200 all in one day. Eric got in, started this service. I think this is a week or two after he joined. He made $250, $450, $600. Says, I love the focus and that there aren't too many picks, which can make it overwhelming, which is something you touched on earlier, Rob.
Yeah, it's simple. It's easy to follow. There's a reason behind all of these trades. It doesn't require a fortune to get in on these trades. The returns are substantial when they work out like they do. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and look, I'm glad you said if they work out like they do. Let me remind people, I want to be upfront and clear with this. There will be losing trades. Please don't take this as every single trade is a winner. You will never lose money. Anyone who tells you that, you need to run for the hills.
Yeah.
No trader is perfect. There's going to be some that don't work out. The important thing is when a trade doesn't work out, whether it's just the stock didn't perform, something unexpected happened. For example, we had a trade we were in, insiders bought into this REIT, we're doing well, we're up 20-30%, and it was maybe a year or so ago when there was those 2 hurricanes down the Bahamas. Well, guess what? Most of their properties were down in the Bahamas, so they got wiped. They got wiped, and their stock took a big hit. That's unforeseen. Even the insiders can't know that's going to happen. So these things will happen. But when you take a loser on say 15% or 10% on a losing trade, and you make 80 or 100 or 200% on a winning trade, that quickly balances out. And it's all about that ratio of how many winning trades you have versus losers, and how big those winners are compared to how small you can keep those losers, which is something you preach a lot. I've seen in your videos, Rob.
Well, this is awesome. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up? I know that most of these are probably going to be gone by the end of the day, so I'm just going to encourage everybody again. If you need some encouragement or reassurance, take it from me. I'm going to be doing these trades alongside of you with my own money, and I cannot wait to get started on this. So,
well, I'm excited to have you on, have you see the research and follow us in these trades, Rob. And thanks again for having me on. There's a lot of questions coming in. I think we've tried to group most of them together and answer the ones we could. All right, before we move on, I want to thank a couple more new buyers I'm seeing coming in here before. You guys are still on. Douglas, Winston, Kumar, Frank, Jamie, Juan, Albert, Dick, Michelle, Ed, thank you very much for signing up. I look forward to working with you. Welcome to the Insider Report. You just made a great decision. I know you're going to be happy with it, and I can't wait to profit alongside you. Jen, Jarvis, Stephen, Russell, James, Dana, Lori, I think there's a couple more here. Welcome. Thank you for signing up. I've seen a couple more questions pile in here. One is on the price. I keep saying, is this price indefinite or is it just good this year? So when you sign up, the reason we offer these discounts so you can lock that in, the price will likely raise next year. And again, the retail, when you don't have this coupon code, is $49.97. That's why I mentioned earlier, I think there's an offer when you sign up, you'll get an offer to take a second year at a like crazy discounted price. It's almost nothing. I would encourage you to do that because look, I'm confident you're going to make money with these trades. You're going to sign up for a second year once this is over. You're not going to want this to stop. And why not lock up a second year at a great price and not have to pay, regardless how much money you make next year? $5,000 is $5,000. You don't want to plop that down a second year. So I'd encourage you to take advantage of that. Another question I'm seeing a lot is how much time does this take to do? And I would say, in all honesty, about 10 to 15 minutes per week. And that's probably being generous. If I send out a weekly summary email every Monday morning that shows you any trade activity we took. So if we bought anything or sold anything or moved any stops, we're going to let you know. Essentially, if you go on vacation, you don't check your email for a week, you look at that email, see if anything happens, see if you need to adjust any stops or buy anything or sell or take any profits. And that's pretty much the only thing that's going to be required of you. Let me see what other questions we have here. On the options, does this work with options? Does this work with options and how far out? Okay, so yes, it does work with options. Any stock that has options, so that it is optionable, we include an option trade with that. They're simple, straightforward, directional call options. I would say about 85% of the stocks are optionable. Occasionally, some just don't have options. They're just not heavily traded enough, and the CBOT has not created those. Generally, those are cheap stocks that are higher volatility that you're going to make. You see plenty of movement out of the stock, so you're not going to need the option. You can still get plenty of shares for a smaller price. As far as how far out these options are, we try to recommend directional options that are 3 to 6 months from expiration. So let's say it's December, we're going to be recommending, April or June call options. And the reason for that is it aligns with the insider timeline. And, remember me saying earlier in the webinar, they have to hold the stock for 6 months. So we want to give you as much of that 6 months as possible to let that stock move and trend higher and profit from that. If you get an option that's expiring very quickly and you have a limited amount of time for that to work, you got time decay going against you, you have one that has to work very quickly. It's just a lot of disadvantages. On the other hand, if you buy an option that doesn't expire for 2 years, something known as a leap, well, you're paying so much for it that you're going to have to see a huge move to profit. You might as well just buy the stock. So the sweet spot is at about 4 to 6 months from expiration window, and that's where we've had the most success in what those recommendations will include. So both good questions following the options. Yes. Let's see what else we've got here. Let me look at. Do we use stops? So yes, we do include stop losses with every trade. And again, there's nothing for you to track. If we use an end of day stop and you wait to see if the stock closes below that for the day, if it does, you'll get an email that evening or the following morning saying, hey, the stock is closed below our stop. We recommend exiting the position. And just so you know our strategy on this, what we try to do is ride the stock higher. Now, let's say you buy a stock at $10 and it jumps to $15 in a couple of days. So that's 50% up. So what are we going to do? We're going to say, hey, sell some of it, okay, take some profits off, and raise your stop to maybe $10 or $12. And as it continues to rise, we continue to take profits, we'll raise the stop along the way. So what that does is it locks in that gain. So that now, even if the stock, takes a big dip and you're stopped out, you've already taken profits, you're out at a higher price than you got in. So it's double advantageous to you. And that's sort of how we manage our portfolio and how you receive those alerts. I'm looking here for other questions. Oh, Rob, getting one on the payment. Do you offer payments? So we don't offer payments. We don't offer a payment plan. We only take cards. It's online. So, if you put it on a Visa or a MasterCard or any credit card, obviously you can basically get a payment plan through them. I don't know what the minimum is on a $1,997, probably $60 a month, $100 a month, something like that. I would like to think I'm not going to have any problems earning you $100 a month. But it's however you want to structure it that way. The other thing is, if occasionally someone will get an error message and they place an order that we couldn't charge your card, it happens to me just because I don't make a lot of large charges on my personal card. So Visa, all of a sudden I buy something for $3,000 in a credit card, it sends off all these fraud alerts. They think, why is Ross spending all of a sudden? If that happens, don't freak out. Just call the number on the back of your card. Tell them you're trying to make the purchase. Tell them you approve it. It's usually just a automated fraud alert, and then try to put it back in, and it shouldn't work that way. So we get that sometimes. It's not a big deal. Just got to call that number. A couple more purchases have come in. Douglas, Lori, Clarice, Stanley, Miller, Michael, Laurel, and Jeff, thank you for signing up. Welcome to the Insider Report. Rob, we're just about at 50. And I hate it for the people who are going to get there and use the code. It doesn't work, but there's only a few spots left, I think, at that $19.97 price.
Yeah, you don't want to miss it. Listen, it's one of those things where you don't want to be the person that wakes up tomorrow and you regret that you didn't do it. The time is right now.
Couldn't have said it any better.
Awesome. Totally awesome. Can't wait.
The link, folks, markettradersdaily.com/yes. And once again, be sure to use that promo code ROB. That's ROB for those of you who never took spelling class. To save you $3,000. You can thank Mr. Rob Booker for that. It's a special thank you for him and all of you guys for having us on here. Get it for $19.97 for an entire year. You also have the option to upgrade for a second year for a super, super low, almost giveaway price. So I'd encourage you to scoop that up and go ahead and double the value you're getting out of this package. Okay, so I'm seeing, Rob, a couple of people looks like having problems, or two people anyway, having problems putting their order in. I want to address this before the 50 spots fill up. If you are getting a decline on the card, generally it's just an automated fraud alert from your credit card company. What you'll want to do, just pull out your credit card, call that 800 number on the back, tell them it's you. They'll verify your identity, tell them you're trying to make this purchase, and they'll just remove that fraud alert and then re-put your order in, and it should go through. That's generally what that is. 9 times out of 10, they're just looking out for you guys. So you've got to just call them, say, yeah, it's me. Yes, I'm trying to make this purchase. Please approve it, and then resubmit your order. Another question I'm seeing here is asking about, he's calling them pump and dumps. That aren't some of these insiders just throwing money in to push up the stock and then get out as soon as it goes up. Remember, I mentioned there is something called the short swing rule. These insiders, when they buy, they cannot sell for 6 months or else they'll forfeit their profit. So that line in the sand is 183 days. That's 6 months. And I, in my research, actually found a couple who sold like on day 182. They're just itching to get out. And the government takes all those profits. They don't get to keep them. So they're very, very stringent on this rule. So, insiders are not buying the stock to manipulate the price. They have to hold it the full 6 months. They have to stay in regardless of what happens to that stock. So you're not going to see a lot of manipulation there. One question I got earlier, is there a monthly membership option? There's not a monthly membership option. And the reason we do this for a year only is I don't think it's fair to judge this service or any investment manager over a period like 1 month. If it's a day trading service, maybe. But look, we've had picks that we recommended. They've gone down 5, 10% or done nothing for 2 or 3 months and then ballooned up 80, 100, 200% following that. It's impossible to time these things perfectly. And I don't want you to, whether you make huge profits or things just kind of sit still, I don't want you to judge any service based on what it does over a couple of weeks period or even a couple of months. I think you need the full year experience. I want you to see the fruits of your labor, so to speak, and enjoy watching those stocks rise and seeing some of those big winners you're going to achieve over a period like 12 months.
Yeah, and when somebody, like I'm in for 2 years, Ross, so like when somebody comes on and they tell you they're in for a year or 2 years, then they're making a substantial investment in you and commitment to you, and then you're going to return that back to them. Imagine if somebody, you hired somebody at your company and they said, well, I'm going to work month to month. I don't really know if I want to stay here. I don't really know if I want to commit to this. It's really hard to get a solid foundation in place when there's not a commitment. And so you also don't want to spend all of your time drumming up monthly members.
Right.
That's not the point of this service. The point of this service is for you to be paid for your time and the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you put into doing the research, and then to do this together with people that are ready. And you get a lot of satisfaction. You've helped rich people become richer. That's not really satisfying.
It's not. And they're not grateful either. They're not grateful either.
Yeah, right. So this is really about over a 6, 12 month, 24 month period of time, or in my case, I'm going to be in here for life. This is about a long-term journey to build wealth for people for whom it's going to make a really big difference. And that's the kind of person you want on board. And it totally makes sense to me. Yeah,
look, there are no shortcuts to wealth. I don't care if you're day trading. I don't care if you're investing in real estate, if you're buying stocks. There are no shortcuts. It's not going to happen in a week or a month or 2 months. It's a repetitive process. It's repeating the same thing that works over and over, and pyramiding and rolling and compounding those returns into one another. And you need, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years for that to happen. There's just no way around it. John is asking here about sells. He's saying, you're talking about, okay. He's asking basically about short sales. Do you recommend selling stock short based on insider selling? So that's a really good question. And the thought process goes like this. If insiders are buying because the stock's about to go up, then therefore when they're selling, doesn't mean it's about to go down. I understand where you're coming from. The research says no, though, and here's why. These executives, so the CEO of a large company, he doesn't get paid like you or I. He may get, a $200,000 base salary and then $500,000 in stock and $2 million in stock options. So at the end of the day, 85, 90% of his money is tied up in that company stock, which is good for you as an investor. You want them to be rewarded when you're rewarded. However, they have to diversify like you or I. So if they want to buy a beach house or send a kid to college or just balance their portfolio, regardless, they have to sell stock to do that. There are a million reasons for them to sell, but there's only one reason for them to buy, and that's because they think the stock's going higher. So no, to answer your question, insider selling is not necessarily a sign of weakness in the stock or that the stock's about to go down. But good question. One question, okay, do you send out text alerts when it's time to buy and sell? We don't send text alerts. It's not that we don't have the technology to do it. I just don't want to annoy you, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to create this feeling where an alert goes out and you go, oh crap, I've got to drop what I'm doing. I've got to abandon this meeting and go place this trade. It's just not that fast paced. It's designed for anyone, even if you check your email once a day or every other day. And so I didn't want to create that sense of urgency every time there is a new trade alert. They come via email. If you want to have that forwarded to a text, you can do so. But no, we're not going to send you text alerts on these. All right, Rob, looks like we got only a couple of spots left. I want to welcome the last couple of buyers we've seen here. Dick, Ed, Peter, Benita, Paul, Jefferson, Daniel, John, Jennifer. Thank you for signing up. Looks like there's only a couple of spots left of those 50. So if you haven't done it, I would urge you to jump on that page. Use the coupon code ROB, markettradersdaily.com/yes. Snag this offer. I want to thank you for having me on and letting me speak to your members and your followers, and I look forward to working with them over the coming year here.
I'm super excited. Thanks so much for coming on and talking to everybody.
All right. Thanks a lot.